Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy StumpD back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, we're talking 15-star Super Boss ALBER for the 9th anniversary. And in today's video, I have two teams for you guys for each particular variation. The first team is a bit more of an accessible team, or a buildable team as I like to call them, utilizing units that aren't available on this particular batch, but giving you some ideas and some other units that you could easily substitute in to take down this particular event. The second team is going to be my big old Wayland team. The things that I'm going to be trying first, but not the things that are going to be the be-all, end-all for the end of Super Boss. As always, these teams are always subject to change, and as you can see on screen right now, shout out to the OPTC Twitter, by the way, this Super Boss has a lot. There's a lot of shenanigans that we have to deal with, and it's very, very annoying. So, with that said, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the big red subscribe button. Let's take a look at the 15-star. We're going to kick it off with the strength variation. Slashers and cerebral characters get their cooldowns. They also get their super switches and their verse abilities. On stage 1, you come up against 2 Grifters and Hawkins, and after 1 turn, they run away, which is so annoying because we can't actually stall here. So you really need to make sure you bring Slashers and cerebrals, otherwise you're not going to get cooldowns. On stage 2, the mini-boss has 15 million HP. Now, I'm really hoping that this mini-boss is a strength mini-boss. By where it says Battle 2 in red, I'm really hoping that means that it's a strength boss. But the boss has 15 million HP, which is a lot. There's a barrier for a Wano orb for 1 turn, so you need 1 Wano slot, which is going to be very annoying to deal with. So hopefully on Battle 1, you do get some type advantage, as we are using Zoro for this particular fight. That way you can actually give yourself a Wano orb before stage 2. There's also 7 turns of despair. 7 turns of despair. Very, very annoying stuff to actually get around. But it definitely is doable with supports. It's just very, very annoying. Like, it's very, very, very annoying. But look, it is what it is. So, if you do pass a turn as well, by the way, after turn 1, you lose all your beneficial effects. You get 3 turns of attack down, as well as a reduced attack down if you're below a 4.0 chain multiplier, and then the enemy's going to retreat anyway. So, very, very, very annoying stuff there. But, not the end of the world. On the final stage, the boss is a super type. He attacks every 2 turns. He has full immunity, except for increased damage taken for 99 turns. He has a barrier for 1 tandem orb. He has a damage 0 over 50% of the maximum HP for 4 turns. Damage reduction for 3 turns. 1 turn of threshold. 30% slasher resistance. So your slashers do more damage. And then there is an Intimidate for an attack boost and damage against certain type effects, which is like a conditional boost, for a minus 0.25 chain, or sorry, not chain, 0.25 multiplier. So if you use a 2 times attack boost, it becomes a 1.75. Yes, it is very, very annoying, and there are some crazy shenanigans, but the team I put together looks a little bit like, oh, where did it go? Like this. So here we go. We have our team. I'm going to make ALBER just a little bit bigger now. We have our team led by Shanks. Now, if you guys don't have Super Tandem Shanks level 5, but you were lucky enough to pull Zoro, you can actually bring Zoro on your squad and then use a friend captain Shanks. However, Shanks is going to be our leader, as he works quite nicely. Now, Shanks is going to be your color affinity booster, and he's going to be your chain booster. He's also a super type, because we have Luffy and Ben Beckman on this particular team as well. But we're going to touch on a bit more what he does in a little bit. We have Ben Beckman and Lucky Roo. Ben Beckman and Lucky Roo, we actually need to pop them on stage 2, which is a little bit annoying because we need the Yasop support for that to actually work. However, if you guys have Sabo, the anniversary Sabo, you can easily use the Sabo there. Then that way you won't have to use a special on turn 2. You can get away with just using Sabo. If you need to, you can use, Sabo on the final stage. If you need more damage, you can use the super switch of Kinemon Denjiro. And then with that, you can actually use the Corazon or the Rayleigh support on Luffy and Law, plus the Kanjuro support to remove the Despair. If you do use Sabo, Sabo can actually move damage reduction too, which is awesome. But then you can actually use Ben Beckman and Lucky Roo on your Shanks to remove 1 turn of threshold. Now, this is going to be a more optimal and ideal setup for most people if you guys actually have access to this. Now, actually, can't use Luffy Stump. You're a smackhead. Let's just do this. But this setup is going to be a lot more optimal for most players. But if you guys are struggling there, like I said, we can use Ben Beckman and Lucky Roo. The downside to Ben Beckman and Lucky Roo is you really need the Yasop support to remove 2 turns of despair. Like, that's the big kicker there. which kind of sucks. If there's another support that can remove, like, Threshold, you could easily use that on Ben Beckman and Lucky Roo. You could use them as captain even if you really wanted to, so that way you could get that effect of them as well. Robin is a conditional booster here. She allows you to get 2 conditions, and then with our friend Captain Zoro, we can actually get another condition, plus we get an attack boost through Zoro. And finally, we've got Luffy and Law. Yes, you heard that right, Luffy and Law. Luffy and Law are an interesting one, because they are going to be an orb boost for the second burst turn. And if you are running this particular setup, you can actually use the Beppo supports, this one here, to remove 1 turn of Threshold. Now, you're always going to be tapping with Luffy and Law first with this particular setup, because they trigger either Zoro's Super Tandem if you can find a level 5, or they trigger Shanks's if you're using a level 5. So either way, no matter which way you go, you are going to have a very good Super Tandem with this particular team. As I mentioned, you will be having Zoro as your friend captain, and Zoro provides you an attack boost, and he also provides you a conditional boost against extra damage taken. And if he has a Wano slot, then you are going to be doing more damage there. The downside to this particular team is it's really going to struggle to get that additional damage, because getting Wano orbs is going to be a little bit finicky. It's obviously subject to change with how the lead-up looks, but it is going to be possible. It's just going to be very, very hard to do. So that's the first team. And this is the second team. Now, this team uses a friend captain Zoro as well, a Super Tandem level 5 Zoro to be exact. But this team is actually going to do absolute bits. However, it's incredibly frustrating to use. Like, it's incredibly finicky. If we head back to this infographic, we are getting cooldowns on everyone except for Sanji and Luffy Yamato, but they're boosted for this event, so that's actually going to work quite nicely. And then what we need to do is we need to do a 2-turn burst. Now, ideally on turn 1, we're going to switch with Oden Toki, get the super switch, so that way they get a Wano orb. We're going to get a Wano orb on Luffy Yamato, and that way we're going to have 2 Wano orbs. Now, for the love of God, I pray, when we go into the Sheath Zoro, we can give ourselves a Wano orb on this first turn. I pray. All we need is 1 more Wano orb to carry into the next stage, because then we can then switch with Oden Toki once again, and Luffy Yamato, and that way we'll have 3 Wano orbs on stage 2. We're removing the Despair with Rayleigh and Corazon, and that works out nicely. But if we need more damage here, we have the super class of Robin. Robin's going to be an orb booster with her super class, and the big reason we have her as a captain here is because she is a cerebral leader, which is going to be very good for our 2-turn burst here as well. If we can get those 5 Wano orbs, and remember, this is subject to change, but hopefully this works, you're then going to have the Enma gauge max by the second burst turn, because when we hit that final stage, we are going to use our Robin special to get the conditional, and then we're going to use the switch of Luffy Yamato, and then the Luffy Yamato special to give the increased damage taken, and give ourselves an orb boost. Then we can use the super class of Robin if we haven't done so already, and then we can use Sanji. Now, Sanji's going to become our captain, and we're going to keep Sanji as our captain. With Enma, Zoro in his Sheath form, he turns those recovery orbs into Wano slots, and then we can use Zoro to give ourselves an attack boost. With that, we have a 2-turn attack boost, we have a 1-turn orb boost, we have 3 turns of a conditional, we have a chain boundary, we have a chain boost with our supports, and we have a tiny little color affinity boost with Luffy Yamato. Finally, we're going to switch with Kinemon Denjiro. That's going to give us a 50%, what's it called? A 50%, oh my god, words are hard. 50% resistance for slashes to bump that to 80%, and then with Sanji we can remove the damage reduction as well. Vivi removes the threshold, which is great, and then we're basically going to burst on the first turn. We're not going to go crazy though. We're going to start with Luffy Yamato, hit with Sanji, hit with Zoro to activate our super tandem. Then we're going to go into Kinemon Denjiro, Oden and Toki, and finish with the final tap of Robin. On the second turn, we should have a full board of Wano slots and a tandem orb on Zoro too here, by the way. So you can start with Zoro if you want to break the barrier, but look, Luffy, Yamato, and Sanji, they're not doing much damage anyway. On the final stage, so the second turn, we're going to have the Unleashed Zoro form. So we can rip with Zoro, and then that way we can give the increased damage taken when we tap with Zoro again, which is going to be really, really nice. Because with Zoro, if you tap with a Wano, or if you tap with a Tandem Orb, he actually gives an increased damage taken whilst you are in his Enma Unleashed state, which is very, very nice. Plus, he's Super Tandem at level 5 with the Friend Captain. You basically just need to tap with Sanji for the rush, then into Luffy and Yamato, and then hit with Zoro. You break the barrier then. You activate the Super Tandem, you get all these nice effects. And then you'll have the Orb boost and the base stats of Kinemon Denjiro, as well as the color affinity and the extra resistance from Odin and Toki. And then with that, we're just going to burst that final turn. And with Enma, we increase the damage limiter as well. And this team should hopefully do bits. It's very subject to change, I know, and there's a lot going on. It's very confusing. It's probably one of the hardest super bosses we've ever seen. And this team is the one that I'm going to trial first. Let me know if you have any thoughts, comments, or opinions in the comment section below. But let's move on to the next variation. So the next variation is the quick variation. And they did something cheeky with this particular fight, because if they didn't, I feel like we would see 1 trillion damage. On the first fight, everyone gets their cooldowns, super swap, verse abilities charged. Apu and the 2 grifters will run away after 1 turn. So, very interesting that you literally get anyone that you like on the team to get all their good stuff, which is really, really interesting. On stage 2, the mini-boss has 15 million HP once again. You get binded on your left-hand column for 5 turns after sockets. You get a full bottle recovery orbs, which are also treated as unfavorable for 4 turns as well. If you wait a turn, you lose beneficial effects. Just basically don't wait a turn. You get super block. Just bad stuff happens. On the final stage, the boss becomes a super type. 99 turns of immunity, has a barrier hit combo for 10 hits for 2 turns, 1 turn of attack down, 6 turns of damage reduction, and negate type effects. Yes, you get negate type effects for 15 turns. Why the hell does the boss have super type if it's just going to negate the type effects anyway? It makes absolutely no sense to me. But the first team, the buildable team, looks a little bit like this, and there are some things that you guys can change. We are using a friend captain Sanji here. Sanji is going to have the rush mechanic, and ideally, if you guys are running this particular team, you want to try and find a level 5 rush Sanji. The level 5 rush is going to give you the 10 taps to break that barrier, but you are going to have like the end finish of Sanji as well. So there's going to be other ways to break it literally with Sanji, but his rush ability is going to be ridiculous. To get around the bind on stage 2 though, we are going to be using Ace on our Luffy, and then we're going to be using Corazon on our Law. Popping Law on stage 2 is going to rotate the recovery orbs into matching and should be an easy kill there. But once we hit the final stage, we are going to use our Yamato special to give us some Wano orbs on the... I think she does she do the right-hand side or does she do the left-hand side? She does the left-hand side, doesn't she? Yeah, she does the left-hand side. So you want to have like your bigger hitters on the left. So as you can see, like my Law has the most attack, and I think my Yamato has the most attack here. So let's just do that. Robin is going to give you the 2-turn conditional, plus with the Brook support, you can get a 1.6 times damage increase. Zoro is another option to remove damage reduction, but Sanji's going to do that. He's just great because he has those chain shenanigans. If you don't have this Zoro, I do understand. He's an anniversary exclusive, but as long as you just replace him with anyone that can give you some sort of extra buff for this team, that's going to work quite nicely. The Queen support, it's just more damage. It's not essential at all. You can use the VV support as well on this particular team if you really want to. On Zoro, or sorry, not on Zoro. If you just bring an attack down remover, then you can use the VV support on like one of the Straw Hats. You can use the Mr. 3 support for damage reduction. That's going to also work nicely as well. But with this team, you have base stats. You have an orb buff with Luffy. You have the super tandem of Luffy as well because you're going to rush with Sanji. And then you're going to hit into Luffy and then Zoro. And then you can hit Law, Yamato, and then finish it off with the final tap of Robin. That's going to work quite nicely. But this particular team, it should do fairly nicely. It has characters that obviously have released around sort of like the start of last year, being New Year's, and obviously for last anniversary with Luffy. So hopefully this team helps you out. However, Nami is still the GOAT for the highest damage team that I can possibly think of for any goddamn variation. This particular team is the one that I think would easily crack 1 trillion. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree in the comment section below. But if you could get type advantage on this particular stage, I feel like this team would do absolute bits. Now, as a friend, we are using Luffy and Yamato. This particular unit right here. And this is what I mean. If we have type advantage, with this unit, they give a 2 times additional damage, 2.5 times color affinity, and a 3.25 orb boost, which is absolutely crazy in their special. As well as an 80% damage reduction, which means that then Verse Yamato will turn this into a 1.8 times buff. However, the downside to this particular fight is Stage 2. Stage 2 is going to prove to be a little bit annoying, and depending on what color Stage 2 actually is, I'm really hoping that it's quick from what you can see here, we are going to use the super swap of our Luffy Yamato on Stage 2, and then we can hopefully burst down just by doing that. That is the goal, and that is what we're praying to do. We can actually just use Hiyori actually on here to give you a Wano orb, and then we can actually put you over here and put Luffy on you for some additional base stats. And the way that this particular team is actually going to function is we have damage reduction removal with Nami, we have a chain boost and a base stat booster with Nami as well. We're also going to have a guaranteed conditional for paralysis. On top of the guaranteed conditional from Robin, we have a 3.25 times attack boost with Yamato, also converting the 80% damage reduction, sorry, a 3 times attack boost, my bad, not 3.25. A 3 times attack boost, which I actually think goes down, doesn't it? Does it go down? Is there Intimidate? No, there's no Intimidate on this fight. Yamato's damage reduction conversion to 1.8 times damage. Sanji is a 3.25 conditional, not conditional, friggin' hell, I can't talk. A 3.25 chain boundary on top of his rush ability. And he's going to become our captain and activate his super class. So we both have a super striker and super free spirit for 2 units that are boosted, being Luffy Yamato and our verse Yamato 2, which is crazy. Queen gives resistance, Vivi gets resistance. This team literally has every single buff in the game. Tap perfects, hits 0.6, 1.5 times chain shenanigans. This team literally has everything. It's crazy. Actually crazy. And if you could get color affinity on this stage, not only would you be doing 2 times more damage with your dex units, but you'd have a 2.5 times color affinity as well. So, I don't know, man. Nami just shows that, like, when you can do stuff like this, provided that we can get through stage 2, obviously, this is just going to be absolutely crazy, and I just can't wait to see the damage that this team can perform. The final variation is the Psy variation, and this is where they really, really, really want you to use the Beast Pirates. Like, they really, really, really want you to use the Beast Pirates. So, on stage 1, Driven and Powerhouse characters get their cooldowns. That's literally it. You can actually stall here. Their super switches and verse abilities get cooldowns as well. So, if you need to stall here, you definitely can. I imagine that they're just going to be turtles, so that's also going to be something that's very, very handy. On stage 2, the mini-boss has 15 million HP. You get to spared on your captain for 7 turns after sockets, and you get a full board of block orbs. After the first turn, you lose your beneficial effects, so you get binded on the top row, fear, retreat. Like, you just don't pass the turn. You don't want to pass the turn. It's very, very bad if you pass the turn. On the final stage, the boss has a super type and has immunity to everything except increased damage taken. You get 6 turns of special bind, 1 turn of paralysis, 1 turn of damage reduction, and then there's 2 types of intimidate. An intimidate on an attack, slot, and conditional boost at 0.25. So you actually get the reduction of 0.25. So if you use a 2 times attack boost, it's a 1.75. There's also an intimidate where if you use an attack boost, a slot boost, or a conditional boost, they reduce it by 1 turn. Also, there's an interrupt if you use an attack boost, an orb boost, a type effect boost, or an additive to the chain multiplier. It wipes away your positive buffs and your accumulated values 1 time only. So, yes, this is probably the most annoying super boss in the entire world, but there are ways around it. They really, 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 really want you to use ALBER. And if you don't have ALBER, it's going to be a little bit tricky, but there are some options for you. For the first team, we are using Kid as our captain with a friend captain ALBER. On stage 2, we are going to use our Yamato special to rotate those orbs into block orbs, and then as long as you just keep a block orb on ALBER, like, you're gonna be fine. However, you kind of want to make sure that you get a tandem orb, so that way you can trigger the Kid super tenement, and we'll touch on that in a second. But with Yamato, you should easily kill stage 2. Also, to get around the despair, we have the ulti support with the double special activation of Sasaki, so that's going to take care of the despair as well. On the final stage, we are going to use ALBER first to remove the special bind. That's going to trigger the interrupt to wipe away our positive effects. And we're still going to keep ALBER's chain boost, which is great. But then we're going to wipe away the positive effects. First, we're going to use Beige. Beige is going to be a 2-turn driven attack boost up at 2.5. So very, very good effect there. You love to see that. And then we can use Kid. Kid is going to give us a bunch of tandem orbs, which he's going to give us the super lock for, and he gives us tap timing shenanigans. He gives you a 2-turn orb boost, provided you have an attack boost already. So you want to make sure that, because you will lose it by 1 turn, remember? So that way, you have a 1-turn attack boost and a 1-turn orb boost. Plus, you've got a full board of tandem orbs, and hopefully you can save some save some Wano slots from the previous turn. So that way you can actually just do a little bit more damage. But you are going to need a tandem orb at least on Kid. So I would highly recommend tapping with Kid. Or Killer. That's going to work too. Now, Killer's going to remove damage reduction. But on top of that, we have a full Driven team. So he's actually going to give us a 2.25 color affinity boost as well. Which is really, really nice. However, we're going to lose it. Like, it's going to get removed. No, actually, no. It gets reduced by 0.25, right? Yes. It just gets reduced by 0.25. Conditional boosts will actually get removed. And the thing about this is, like, you actually lose Queen's conditional boost, which is very odd. And they actually want you to use Queen, but we'll touch on that once we get to the next fight. As for ALBER, we can finish off with his Super Type. This team has Super Class, it has Super Type. It should work very, very nicely. And it has a Super Tandem. Plus, it has a Final Tap with Yamato as well. So, you can do some pretty cool stuff here. It's not the be-all or end-all team because they really want you to use the Beast Pirates. However, if you have the Beast Pirates, but you don't have all the Beast Pirates, you can run something like this. Now, we are using Verse Kaido to give our attack an orb boost and the pseudo double special. But once again, we have Sasaki to remove the Despair on stage 2. Now, with his double special activation and then with Pudding, we can actually remove all the Despair. We actually get 7 turns. But with the support of Top Musica on our Sasaki, not only do we get a color affinity boost, but we get an attack boost and an orb boost, which means that when we pop Queen, Queen is actually going to give us a conditional boost at 2.5 times against increased damage taken. So once we do that, we can use Pudding. Pudding's going to rotate our block orbs, as well as stockpile a particular buff. Now, we're going to choose that conditional buff, and if you have her at level limit break 5, she gives it back at 2 turns instead of 1 turn, which is going to be very, very handy for the final stage. Once we hit the final stage, we can use our ALBER special straight away. ALBER's going to give us the remove the special one and the chain boost, and then we can use Pudding to actually give us the stockpiled effect. Now, it does say that it removes beneficial effects and accumulated values, so I'm not sure if this actually removes Pudding or not, but if you guys think it does or you know it does, please let me in the comment section below. But I just wanted to show you guys that there is another way of getting a conditional boost on the final stage, even though it does get reduced by 1 turn. Kaido, he's going to be a pseudo double special. He gives you an attack boost, he gives you an orb boost for 2 turns, which gets reduced, which is a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. And then with the support of Jack, you can get around the paralysis. You have damage reduction removal with the carrot support on the Straw Hat crew. And then once you use the special of Kaido, you're going to get all your cooldowns back. So then you can use Queen again, you can use ALBER again, and you're going to get all of their extra effects. You can then use the super type of ALBER, and then you can use the versatility of Kaido to give the increased damage taken. And then you have the final tap of the Straw Hat crew, plus the super tandem of whatever ALBER friend captain you guys are using. However, if you have your own ALBER, that's going to be the best case scenario. So you can run ALBER as your captain. That is just going to remove Despair. Remember, ALBER just can't be touched as a captain. He just says, nope, not today. Bind, Despair, Paralysis, all of those annoying things, he just removes as your captain, which works really nicely for Stage 2, and for Stage 3, obviously, as well. On Stage 2, we are going to have to pop the ALBER Super Type. That is going to give us a full board orbs through block orbs. I've tried so hard to find another way to actually get like the Straw Hat Crew special ready to go, but unfortunately, I just couldn't make it work. I'm going to use this, or you can use the Queen special. That's another option for you guys, but I feel like using this is probably going to be more beneficial, so that way you can actually use the ALBER special twice on the final stage, but we'll come back to that in 2 seconds. On the final stage, you do have to do a little bit of finicky stuff. We have the support of Kid Sabo for 2 turns of Special Bind, and then we can use Heat and Wire. Now, Heat and Wire are an interesting one, because they're one of the only characters for the team that give you a 2-turn conditional boost. Plus, they remove Special Bind by 5 turns, so with the 6 turns, Sabo on the Straw Hat Crew, and then this character, you can get around that, but you can also use the Top Musica support to actually give you an attack and orb boost. Now, for this team, we're going to be running a friend captain, Jack. When we have an attack and orb boost, Jack should give us all of the good shenanigans of the chain boundary, increasing the chain boundary, giving us resistance for strikers and driven characters, and we should be able to get a lot done there. Then, we can activate Queen. Once we activate Queen, we are going to remove the paralysis, and we're going to give ourselves a color affinity boost that can't be wiped away. The enemy that will then trigger their interrupt, and they will wipe away our positive buffs, which means we'll lose our conditional boost. We won't lose our chain boundary, but we will lose the conditional boost that Queen would have provided. However, we keep the color affinity thanks to Queen's amazing ability of it not being able to be blown away. Then we can use ALBER. ALBER is going to give us the additional chain shenanigan, which is fun, the 2.0. Then we can use Kaido. Kaido's going to give everyone 20 turns of cooldown. Then we're going to use ALBER once again, because ALBER is, well, you don't really have to, like, you can just use Kaido and then use ALBER. Like, you don't have to do the shenanigans of double special. But ALBER, when you have a chain multiplier boost, as well as an attack and orb boost, he gives you base stats and the tap timing shenanigans, which is going to be really, really fun for this team. And then we're going to finish it off with Heat and Wire to give us the conditional boost once again. Heat and Wire also have a Sailor ability to give you more resistance when you tap with them. Queen gives resistance for Driven. And with this team, you actually have a 70% resistance to Driven, as well as a 40% resistance to Striker, and a 30% resistance for Cerebral. Then we can start the Super Tandem with Jack. We're going to use Jack's Super type as well, super class as well, to give the 2 times extra damage. Kaido can help out on stage 2 if you need to use him there. And then with this team, you're going to have the super tandem of Jack, conditional boost, thanks to Heat and Wire, and then the final tap thanks to the Strike Crew to just double your damage at the end. But that's going to wrap up the video. Like I said, this super boss is very, very annoying. I do apologize that the video has been so long, but hopefully something in here helps you guys out. And if you guys need some more assistance, let me know in the comment section below. I'm sure other people will comment, I'll comment, and we can just pass around some teams, and hopefully we can have a lot of fun with this very, very annoying super boss. This is one of the most annoying super bosses I've ever seen. It's very finicky, it's very frustrating, and I do understand why a lot of people are upset with it. But if you enjoyed the video, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff for me. Most importantly, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Let's